Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. Yes, I finally have the exact run I was looking for the video you're watching now, which is the LR Final Form Cooler versus Red Zone BROLY. As I said, this is taken from the video that I uploaded beating the all types extreme mission. So yeah, this is the exact same run, but this is literally the pinnacle. This is the epitome of how good LR Final Form Cooler is. Like, this is the run I was looking for. Whether I beat BROLY or not, of course, to get the mission done, I would have to beat him. But it didn't matter if I beat BROLY or not. I just wanted LR Final Form Cooler to have the showing he did here, to really show what he can do, even probably in the worst case scenario he could be, which is type disadvantage against one of the hardest hitting red zone boss in the entire game. So that's exactly why I've used this run, because this is the epitome of it. Of course, we have friend LR Final Form Cooler with us as well, who had, I think, 2 dupes. So you're going to see what you can do with and without dupes. But this is probably going to be one of the best 55% units in the game. This is going to be one of the best aging units at 55% in Dokkan. I really do believe that. He's obviously easily one of the best units in the game. Where he is for you is entirely up to you. On JP, there's a top 3, because of course Trunks and Vegeta are out. Global, we don't have them just yet. But he is up there as one of the best units in the game. No questions asked. But the reason why I specifically used this run again as it is because he done exactly the type of performance and showing as to why I wanted to show him off. So one of the things that obviously helps is because BROLY has multiple phases. He has the first phase against the strength phase, the second type, which is the tech phase, the third one, which is the AoE phase, the absolute devilish phase, and then the final phase, of course, which is the type disadvantage phase for LR Final Form Cooler. So that's 4 phases. That's 4 whole phases for LR Final Form Cooler to be stacking up his attack the entire event. Now, I literally beat the all types extreme mission. Yes, we had a lot of great defensive units with us, which is exactly why this was made a little bit easier. But the main damage output, the main source of damage, is literally just LR Final Form Cooler. There's also some damage, of course, from the EZA as well, but mainly LR Final Form Cooler is the guy doing the damage here. So everyone else is defensive, they do what they need to do, soak up all the damage around him. Not saying Cooler can't tank, because he really can, even at 55%. Which you'll see later on in the video, but he's the main source of damage, and he absolutely annihilates BROLY. I said throughout the 4 phases of the event, he's going to be stacking up the entire time. You have him fully built up after his passive, where he's guaranteed to get an 18 key every single time, which means you're guaranteed after like turn 1, maybe turn 2 at a push, to constantly 18 key with him, which means guaranteed stacks every single time he supers, which means Cooler is only going to get stronger and stronger out this entire event. And this is one of the longer red zone stages as well, so he has time to get his attack stat, which he does end up getting to. I think the friend one does, and mine gets somewhere close, but obviously at 55%, a little bit less because there's no dupes. I think some in the region of like 10 to 12 mil, which is ridiculous. Having a 10 to 12 mil attack stat is generally ridiculous, and obviously if you have dupes against red zone BROLY in the final phase, the crits are going to help you still do insane amounts of damage against BROLY, especially with all the built-in additionals potentially becoming supers as well. Even at 55%, having 5 crit, or if you give him skill orb equips, which I did, you know, you could also potentially get through a few more crits off here and there as well. But I don't think I've seen a unit just kind of, especially again at kind of the worst possible scenario for Cooler, having type disadvantage against one of the hardest hitting bosses in the entire game. Don't think I've seen a unit in the game absolutely decimate BROLY the way LR Final Form Cooler does. Like, his damage output, generally, I don't think anyone can keep up with him right now. Like, mine, there's no support this, actually no, is there? No, there's no support this rotation. Mine is 55% already at almost an 8 million attack stat, and we've literally just finished on the tech phase. But I don't think I've ever seen anyone slap around AGL BROLY the way LR Final Form Cooler does, even at 55%. Like, it's an absolute joke of how good he is. Like, yes, Birdcoo's amazing, don't get me wrong, he's up there as well. He's obviously the more defensive unit out of the 2. He stacks, he's got guard, he has a revive, then has guaranteed guard. You know, that's the safe option. Cooler has none of that, and my guy can still tank the last phase. I was gonna say the fast phase. The last phase of Broly, like, is nothing. Yes, there's a little bit of RNG involved. Like, if you don't get any of your additional 12 keys, the possible like 3-4 additional 12 key supers you can get, you can still take quite a bit of damage, and you'll probably die on super. So there's a tiny bit of RNG involved. But considering how many additionals this guy has, I'm pretty sure with an item active, and yes, you'll be like, some of you may be like, oh, but you're using an item. Unless you're doing an item runs, items are part of the game. Use the items, it will help you. they are made to be used and help you. Don't turn your nose up at items. Unless you're doing no item runs, fair enough, but don't turn your nose up at them. But yeah, you use a Whis after probably two additional supers, two additional 12 key supers. I think even at 55%, LR Final Form Cooler can tank Broly relatively well with type disadvantage. And this is the exact turn, even at 55%, that made me sit here and go, this is the run. This is the run I want to use as the showcase video of Final Form Cooler against Broly. Now, he does have 200%. He does have level 10 links, so that is helping him a little bit extra, but of course, you can all do that as well. You can all take the time to do so. More importantly, Big Bad Boss is active. He's on a 12 million attack stat. Now with Easy transforming Cooler, you have that big support all times, which is of course helping him even more. Fantastic rotation to run in this event, helping Final Form Cooler do even more damage and have a bit of extra defensive coverage again, especially at 55%. Now, I was lucky enough to get all my additional 12 key supers. I had all of them come off. Yes, we have a Whis active, but that's a lot of type disadvantage attacks to take. Even with type disadvantage, of course, he's taking, you know, basic attacks at double digits, which is great. That avoids any unnecessary extra damage you can take against Broly. We've been supered. We've had all the additional 12 key supers and a Whis active. He takes Broly super for 10 damage. Just 10 damage. Now again, I know we have a Whis active, but items are made to be used in the game. Unless you're specifically doing a no item run, they are made to be used. But bearing in mind, as I said, this is him at 55%. No dupes, 55%. Yes, he's at level 10 link, so Big Bad Bosses is active, but as I said to you so many times, if you're going to level 10 link any units, make sure they're the best extreme units or the better extreme units with the Big Bad Bosses link active. Like, it's such a useful link to have active, where you don't need to lose any HP to have it immediately active from turn 1. But that is Big Bad Bosses, all 4 additional 12 key supers popping off, so greatly raising his defense the maximum amount of times, being fully built up in his passive, with a Whis active, and he tanked one of the hardest hitting bosses in the game, probably the second hardest hitting boss in the entire game, while having type disadvantage for 10 damage. And again, at 55%, no dupes, which I thought was very impressive. Now again, if none of those additional supers came off, I probably, even with the Whis active, might have been dead. But the fact he has so many chances to additional super, like even at 55%, you have 3 chances to additional super. So if you have dupes in him, even better, you have another chance to additional super, but more so with dupes, you want those crits, so he's always dealing like the best possible damage he can. But, you know, if they didn't come off, I think even with 2 of them, I think he still would have tanked relatively well. Would it have been 10 damage? Obviously not, but I still think he would have tanked relatively well with a Whis active, where I wasn't going to die. And more importantly, because he's been stacking the entire time, we already used one earlier on in the AoE phase to get through that a bit quicker, because obviously I was doing the all types mission for Extreme Team. But more importantly, he has his active skill, which can do a lot of damage, especially when you've been stacking up the entire event. And of course, more importantly, because of the amount of damage Broly can do here and the amount of attacks he does, he can disable one of those attacks. And if you're lucky, the first attack in slot 1 could be the super, so he could potentially disable it. And of course, Broly can super twice, which lucky enough, I didn't really have to deal with. But that active skill, the fact you've been stacking the entire event and use that active skill, he can do so much damage. But as I said, more importantly, he can disable one of Broly's actions, which means just a little bit, you take a little less damage in that turn, which can always help. Like, it adds up. Or if you're lucky enough, as I said, you could potentially disable one of Broly's super attacks, which is an absolute godsend. It's a lifesaver. And of course, as you've been seeing throughout this run as well, the friend Cooler with dupes decimates as well. So if you manage to get a dupe in him, lucky you, because the crits are generally insane. But 55%, this is probably one of the best performing 55% units in the game, especially against BROLY. But let me know what you think. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video, guys, and peace!